On today's episode of Kendall on Air, we break down key insights from the French Tech Boston AI Summit and explore the real-world impact of AI beyond the buzz. With guests from venture capital, diagnostics, digital consulting, and design software, we ask, what's actually working? What's still a moonshot? Is AI replacing jobs or redefining them? And most importantly, how do we stay relevant as humans, managers of both AI and humans, and leaders while AI rapidly evolves? Stick around for a practical tip you can use today. Now, my name is Ree Lim, and I am a venture partner at One Way Ventures. And in my former life, I used to be a reporter for CNBC Asia, covering technology stocks like Samsung Electronics. And back then, we thought like 3D TV and 4G phones and graphene were so sexy and groundbreaking. And fast forward 12 years, this world that we have encountered was not one that we could even imagine back then. So the pace of technology is really remarkable. And it is definitely relevant to every single one of us. And I think that is why this panel is certainly going to be very eye-opening. And we are incredibly lucky today because we have leaders from a various spectrum of industries, venture capital, diagnostics, digital health consulting, and product lifecycle management as well. So without further ado, let's get started. And I would like our exceptional panelists all to introduce themselves and each to tell us which feature or solution in AI that they currently love, that they use every day or frequently at their workplace, and which AI feature or function that they think has potential but is not quite there.
Hello everyone, good evening. Kick off the question right away. Which feature I use daily? So in my day-to-day, I'm a partner at Glasswing Ventures. We invest in AI native and frontier tech companies. So the AI that I use internally is the ones that help me with planning. So the whole ChatGPT and Perplexity, and that's just more from a individual augmentation, task augmentation for personal use. And then what we've built internally is a way to capture all AI advancements from an academic standpoint, and how do those rank and trend to become commercial products or commercial businesses one day. And that's more a long-term project that it's an internal one that keeps iterating. Your other question, which one I would like to be better? Honestly, the ones I use by better sources.
I will take the question more from, the perspective of the company and what we do on a daily basis. And we are, fundamentally an AI company at our core. And today, our diagnostics tools are enabling hospitals and labs around the world to make informed decisions about rare disease and oncology diagnostics. So it is happening today in routine clinical care, which is something super exciting and having real impact on patients. And the second question was, remind me.
Which AI solution do you think has potential?
There's a lot to do in healthcare. Obviously, I think for me, we're still in the space of diagnostics. It's still vastly under-penetrated, and I think we can do a lot more to keep rolling out our solutions.
Hi everyone, good evening. First and foremost, I'm Christy Cull. So my background, tinker, thinker, like to build product at scale from working on sensors modeled after human eyes and cameras. So taking from nature and nurturing that to products like my experience at Apple, so of those that have cell phones, to working on autonomous systems at Waymo. So thinking about robots on wheels and how to democratize access in terms of transportation for everyone in the world. Bless you. God bless you. Of recent, really wanted to incrementally work on, again, what can we do to try to change the world, however small and iterative, is to how do we redefine better health for women, making everyday garments smart, as a gateway into a better health platform at DaVinci. So that's a little bit about me. In terms of answering the two questions, some tools that I like to use, the everyday, I echo a lot of what my peers mentioned. Just to kind of add another tool, it would be Superhuman. So it'll write emails for you, recapitulate meeting notes, and also reiterate, salient points that you might want to email a vendor, investor, etc. And then another platform is SmythOS. It's very similar to Agent GPT, which is how can you more nimbly deploy a variety of agents on the edge or multi-platform, multi-cloud, with a low-code, no-code approach. And then a tool that I think is not quite there yet. That being said, I think it's pretty amazing. How many people have heard of Sesame AI? I love to look at tools through the eyes of my son. I have a 12-year-old bundle of joy, and he is entertained by Sesame AI and how colloquial it is. I still think there's a little bit more that can be done, but those are my two. Yep.
Thank you. So I'm Andrew. I'm the CEO of 923 Studio. We build AI solutions for Consumer Reports and FanDuel and Experian and a bunch of products here in Boston. But people come to us, clients come to us, and they say, we have a problem and we want to help workflow, help innovation, help solve something that can either increase revenue or decrease cost. Both of those help profit, and we like to return the investment by whatever they pay us. They 10 times over, hopefully, but make more money for them in the future. So we're dealing with a lot of products. We have about 30 active products at any time, all big companies trying to solve different problems. And so I see a lot of proposals, I see a lot of ideas. I would say that the feature that a lot of our teams are building is evaluation suites. These general AI models have a really difficult time understanding what's reality or what's true, as you all are aware. And through orchestration of the agents and also by making the problems small and bite-sized, we can create multiple agents to solve really small problems that when you put it together, solves a giant problem. Have you guys been watching the NBA Finals or seen Chuck GPT on television? That was us. We were the creator of that. And so our job was to take Charles Barkley, make it sound and feel like Charles Barkley. It took about 3 days to build it and then 5 months to tell it what not to say. So it's very, very hard to get something to be controlled and deterministic, especially for any client out there that wants it to not hallucinate on their problem or their brand or give away free cruises or give away free flights. So I would say that one of the most common tools we use is an evaluation suite to understand what is true and what's not. And I have a tool in the room that I have said for like 20 years. We have like baggage when we go to the airport, it has wheels. And now we have AI, but we still don't have a button on Google Docs that says format my document. And it just formats it with the tabs and the paragraphs and all of the different ways. We can like make it say anything we want, but we can't figure out formatting in a way that I can present a proposal that all humans will think that it's like tabbed and indented correctly. So that would be the tool that I wish somebody could create inside of Google, inside of Apple, anywhere in the world, so I can press this button and do that. So please do that.
Hello, good evening. My name is Shrikant Sawant. I head AI and ML at SolidWorks Corporation, which is a Dassault Systems company. SolidWorks is a CAD software, as you may be familiar with. We build tools, software for people to design, simulate, and collaborate on their designs. In terms of what AI technology, I would say that our job or my group's job or our company's job is to build these tools. So we use technology. So I would say that we use a pool of technology, from AI technology from, CNNs, RNNs, transformers, various YOLO-X models, whatnot. So we have, and a lot of them are homegrown models. We use these tools and embed them in our software to make life of designers better, to make it easier for them to design products. So that's what I would say. But we use, pretty much the entire range of technology solutions that are out there. In terms of what I think is promising, definitely, I think multimodal LLMs would probably be a very is a promising technology. I think there's still a long way to go, but to me that sounds more promising right now.
Great. So for the next 35 minutes, we're going to cover some questions. And although for the French tech community, we want to be civil and polite, obviously, but feel free to jump in whenever there's a question that you want to answer. I want to say AI for the last 2 years has been promising us a lot of things. And we've been doubtful, but some things are actually now coming to reality. So in terms of theoretical promises to actual execution, what are you seeing in your fields and how confident are you?
I mean, as it relates, I'll dive into a lot of the buzz of AI, right, is really, from a historical perspective, not really different than the Industrial Revolution and Gilded Age, where the assembly line became like the go-to. And so as we think about AI and what it means for me is not so much the impetus and focus on LLMs, but having also come from the robotics field, it's to what extent are we designing, right, the chips that can actually accommodate the optimization so that we can reduce the cost, size, weight, and power, what we call C-swap. As it relates to wearables, which is sort of the space that I'm in at the moment, how can we make things smaller? How can we have that really emotional intelligence or collective intelligence where what I'm wearing knows that I'm a bit hydrated, I need some water, right? Or it knows that I have a list of meetings or to-do lists that needs to get executed. So I'm really honing in on, what are the TPUs, right? So the tensor processing units, really keen on, well, what is NVIDIA going to do as it relates to, who else is coming to compete with NVIDIA as it relates to edge AI, and not only depending on multi-platform cloud. I don't think we'll ever be free from that dependence, but there's power in owning the data, right, on you versus giving that data away. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you went first, because that is exactly what I was thinking. And then what we do for our clients is try to take that data and understand not just how to use it, but why is it valuable? What is the resource that they can extract from it? And I like to paint the picture that like you're an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, and that oil rig has been digging for oil for like 20 years. Cloud computing, processes, employee handbooks, like all of those things that the company has curated over those years, which is specifically about them, becomes this like oil rig that has so much data, so much power, and so much information. And they're just sitting there raising their hand being like, how do I make more money? Well, you got the oil. Now how do you share that with other companies? So just like you said, like take that data, understand how it works, and then be able to use that resource in a way that is new and novel, but in your own brand voice. Because every company has a culture and a way that they go about themselves. And so as they start using that data, you can't just take company A and copy it to company B and hope that the large language model email is going to sound like your company. You want to make sure that your brand and your voice is exactly in everything that you do. Because you've created that culture, you might as well harness it. And so breaking down to bite size and making it so robust that it works for you is very important for every company.
I'll add to that. From my seat, at least, the premise of AI has been enterprises will adopt AI and it will transform all of their businesses, workflows. It will scale their revenue, their top line, will improve their bottom lines. When it comes to investing in AI companies, a lot of you guys touched on a couple of things where investing in founders that know how to build those AI products, how to get that unique data access, how to build those differentiated products and tech, how to make the product really seamless when it comes to integrating. Enterprises don't like to change their behavior. If that's what you're betting on at the early stage, it's a long shot. So all of these criteria will look for if the founding team, tech, business, market, competition has really thought about and truly done the analysis as to what is there an appetite for an enterprise to really adopt such solutions.
Maybe just to add to your question in terms of, because it's really about what's the impact that it's having. And so in my industry, in diagnostics, AI is already augmenting the ability for clinicians to better diagnose patients. We often talk about like the 10x developer, programmer. And so in healthcare, that's also very much applicable today. I don't know if it's 10x, but certainly we see the value of some AI-enabled diagnostics tools. In my field, it's mostly with genomic data, but in imaging, that's also very much applied in routine clinical care today. And radiologists are using tools that leverage AI to be able to to detect certain pathologies that they couldn't previously detect, or to be able to do this at more at a larger scale, and especially these professions, whether it's radiologists, oncologists, pathologists, there's a significant shortage, and so these tools are really will be critical in making sure that these clinicians can process the volumes of patients that they should be.
I'll just add to that. I think our mission is to help our customers design better products. I think that's kind of, very simply put, that's our core mission. And what we have found is that the process of design itself is extremely complex. People do a lot of repetitive tasks. They do this again and again. And I think that's where we see a great opportunity for AI to contribute. And the way we feel that AI can contribute is, help the designer reduce tedium in the design process by making it easier, simpler, provide suggestions, do some of the repetitive tasks automatically. And then that's kind of the main focus of our AI effort. But then also, secondly, the field of generative design is growing pretty quickly, and we would like to provide the designs almost in their final form as soon as possible, in the sense that, you're doing the design, user says what he wants, and we want to give that design. The technology hasn't evolved to a stage where, you can just say, okay, well, give me a jet engine, and it gives you a full design of a jet engine. It's not there yet. But I think we're moving in the right direction. Things are evolving in that direction.
Despite the assurance from AI executives, and we saw in the video even today that AI is not going to take away our jobs, we hear about companies like Spotify, really downsizing and really delegating a lot of their work to AI. So how do humans stay relevant and useful in your own respective fields?
For me, my learning is my day-to-day, which I'm lucky about. I meet companies that pitch me daily, and I'm talking about probably 7 to 10 companies a day. And granted, are they all new ideas? No. Are there nuances? Absolutely. So to me, it's in a way my job in itself. It's my schooling, and that pushes me, encourages me, forces me to really keep up with what's happening. New technology is coming out, new models are coming out, accessing new data, how our market's really perceiving it. What else am I missing? So there's countless of times where I've gone down the rabbit hole, deep down in past midnight, and trying to figure out, then I think it's time to wrap it up. So to me, that it's truly being in this type of rooms with founders, with executives, and realizing what people are actually demanding and what pain points are to be solved.
I'll add to that. I think right now the AI technology is more like, if you leave a few AI agents, let's say, loose on their own, they'll just do wild things. They'll just go in all sorts of directions, and there is no governing intelligence that will come out of it. And I think I feel is the challenge. These AI tools, they do nitty-gritty tasks, they do low-level tasks, but the human is required to kind of streamline their work, harness their work, and to make sure that they don't run wild, and you get something useful. So I think the way humans can stay relevant is by kind of elevating their work to a higher level of abstraction. Where you're not worried about the low level. Like if you just need a certain code written, I think AI can do that. You can tell that AI, okay, well, write me a function that does this, and it will probably give you that code. But then, what do you want to use that code to do? That high level of thinking, I think that's what we need to kind of elevate ourselves to. So the domain expertise is important. The direction, vision, creativity, I think all these things become even more important, because if you just say my expertise is C++ programming, that's not going to be very valid, because you have to kind of move to the higher level of...
One way I've been seeing this with every company we've created, or every product we've created for a company in the last, we've been doing this since 2016. So in the last 8 years, there's always this thought process that, I don't know what percentage it is, but a certain percentage at the beginning is human, a certain percentage in the middle is AI, and a certain percentage at the end is human. And that's true with everything we've created, or everything a product I've seen on the internet that is created for us. The end process of this is the human in the loop to fact check it, to validate it, to say, go live. would anyone in this room let ChatGPT write its emails for them without checking it before it goes live? No. But at the very beginning of the process too, would anyone in this room say, here are 3 emails I would like you to just automate for me? Well, maybe, but also you're giving it guidance, you're giving it guardrails, you're giving it instruction. And so if you think of that at a larger scale, the human is consultating the agent is making the decision, and then the human is checking that. And those were the jobs that are not replaceable right now from any AI agent or any AI model that I've seen. It's the beginning process to initiate it and the ending process to hit go live.
I can just add quickly, just using an analogy. I'm a visual sort of person. I mean, I would argue that the insurgence of AI, or the buzzword, I think of it as riding a bike, right? You can think about riding a bike, but there's nothing better than actually getting on the bike and actually riding it, right? Establishing your balance and your guardrails, and so to speak. So if the question is like, what do I do to stay relevant versus like who I recruit or who I would hire, the first and foremost would be, similar to you go to the gym to make sure you're at the contour that you would prefer, right? So I flex my mind muscles. What are the different forums that I can read and research and understand? What papers? I'm a scientist by training, so I like to read papers. But I try to say, what's most relevant in large language models, reinforcement learning, computer vision, machine learning. So like the ability for consumers now to have it at their fingertips makes it usable and consumable. But it's not as if AI was just, built and created just the other day. And now the flip side of who I recruit, really, it's the tinkers and the doers, right? How are you? Yes, you have a foundational background in comp sci or data science. How do you apply that to achieve a task-specific need for what purpose? Because at the end of the day, it's what task for what product for what buying customer, whether it be B2B or business to business or direct to consumer, is actually going to want it enough that they're willing to pay $1 or more.
And also, obviously, in healthcare, you don't want ChatGPT to give you any final recommendation, right? Obviously, it's an ethical and regulatory obligation to have the clinician sign off and make the therapeutic recommendation. That I would also emphasize the role, obviously, of human in diagnostics is to help deal with complex cases. Obviously, AI can help standardize, can help with detecting things that the human eye or that the level of experience of the practitioner may not be able to do. But for complex cases, you'll need the experts around the room. So in our field, for instance, we have so our hospitals typically have molecular tumor boards to deal with complex genomic analysis of patients, where you will have an oncologist, you will have a pathologist, and I mean, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball if we'll be able to have an AI do some of this, but when the data is complex and ambiguous, and also when the science is ever evolving, I really see the importance of having a team of experts really come down to the final recommendation.
So I think what I'm hearing is that we are still holding AI accountable, and we're signing off, right? But AI continues to improve, right? So I feel like humans also need to continue to improve. So in your respective fields, how should humans improve so we have the ability to continue to hold AI accountable?
I can add, I mean, what what I would say is similar to how you would sort of look ahead and reason back. You would kind of say, well, what skill set do I need? Know yourself, know your strengths and weaknesses, and understand and assess what sort of skill sets you might need. Understand how the world is transitioning in terms of disciplines and how they're recruiting. So for example, just to make it tangible, prompt engineering, right? GPT is only as good as the inputs or prompts that you are actually asking or fine-tuning it to be. Obviously, it hallucinates if you're projecting into the future, but if you're staying with, automation, summaries, optical character recognition, and then tell me what this PDF says, you sort of have to prompt engineer. Even if you say summarize this PDF, if you want salient words, let's say digital twin as an example as it relates to wearables, I'll keep it kind of on the point of wearables, then you need to sort of fine tune those prompts. And actually you made a great example. One of the examples you mentioned was how do you curate a GPT to auto index the pro version of GPT and even some parts of Gemini will automatically create a document for you.
Again, very different from but in my field, AI can do harm as well as it can do good. When it comes to investing, we make sure that the companies and the founders that we invest in are not building products. Let me take a step back. We invest in AI native in an enterprise and security companies. There's a lot of security that can be used. There's a lot of AI that can be used within security for offensive approaches. So we make sure that AI is not being used to build arms, to cause harm, to any of that comes from any societal or that can cause natural disasters or anything like that. So and at the same time, on the flip side, when we look at companies where diligence is so thorough, we look at the source code and the tech to make sure that whatever data is being used is not data that's biased. Whatever you're testing your environment on is not biased versus in any way, shape, or form. So those are measures that we take as a VC to invest in the right companies, the right products, especially as they make it big and that they get adopted. You want that adoption. You don't want to go wrong there. And those rules or parameters are very much embedded in how we operate internally, we invest in companies, and then our relationship with limited partners who are our own investors, or Glasswing's investors.
Yeah, and I'll say a tangible solution for business owners and people out here running businesses or working inside of a business. To your bike analogy, can you learn how to ride a bike without riding a bike? You have to get on the bike. And so I'm seeing a lot of business owners that call us. There's a $300 million furniture company that has been calling me and it's like, hasn't started with AI yet because their CRM is backwards. And that is a decision that's being made right now in 2025 that is going to put you behind year after year after year. You have to get on the bike and you have to see how it's going to work with your company, because at the end of the day, the products that you're building are going to be AI enhanced, or your competitors' products will be. So there's a pie that you have of your landscape of who you're competing against, and AI is going to enhance that portion of the pie for your company. The business owners and the employees have to push the business owners to say, use AI, just test it, just try it, just experiment with it. Don't do it on vital data from any of the healthcare stuff that you're talking about today, but a process internally, an employee handbook, asking HR the same question over and over and having that turn into a bot. Those types of things are great places for your company to start experimenting with, and that's how you start riding the bike. And every company I've seen do this, the employees get energized, they get excited. Nobody gets fired. It's like, hey, we're using this, can you use this? Can we try this out? And all of a sudden, the energy grows. And in the companies I've seen, the energy gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that everybody finally has this new tool that they start like high-fiving each other in the hallways and saying like, hey, let's try these new ideas. That's the type of company you want to be a part of in 2026, and you have to start now.
You mentioned safety, right? AI safety, definitely a topic that we want to touch upon, right? So AI, security, privacy, governance, ethics, very sensitive topics, but AI is moving so fast. Are we doing enough at this point? You're seeing it from the front line, so give us your honest, feedback.
I mean, I would argue everyone needs to do more all the time, right? So when given a task and it's task specific and there's software and there's hardware, there are systems and subsystems, starting out with why, right? There's a book actually, I forget the author, but start with, thank you, you know the book, there we go. So start with why, don't just say yes. Right? So why I'm passionate about this is because I think the EU has done a great job. There's the EU AI Act, there's GDPR, there's SOC2, there's ISO. I'm not suggesting that the US hasn't leaned into it. I think we need to do more as it relates to robotics, robotic systems, even factory automation. You have, and to your line of inquiry, which was this collective intelligence of nature, machines, and humans, what does that future world look like? There are a variety of enterprise companies self-regulating, right? I'm not here to say whether that's right or wrong. The question I would argue is, well, who's regulating the self-regulator within the company, right? Is that bias, or does that almost increase the amount of bias? So in the case of machines on wheels, our governing body, at least within the lens of a domestic, the US, is NHTSA. And really that's fed with the mindset of the human driver. When you have a superhuman driver, what new lens and perspectives do we need to now have? And so as it relates to data security, data privacy, AI ethics, right? I'm sure we've all heard the garbage in, garbage out analogy, right? What data is being trained? And one metric that I'll mention, and then I digress, which is, I think it's 6 to 8%, keep me honest if you know the metric, 6 to 8% of the data can be found on sort of a Google API backend, or name your favorite search engine. The rest of that percentage, the data is held by private companies, right? So if private companies are self-regulating, begs the question, right? What does that governance, what ought it look like on a global to hold people accountable across the world? Yeah.
I'll just add to that real quick. So I think the abundance of data that you see everywhere, then there is a tendency for companies to use that data or into their own models. But I think it is very important to make sure that you have the rights to use that data, and so this is very important. Whoever, just because something is public doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right to use it in to train your AI model. So I think that is very important. The second thing is making sure that the data itself is valid, it is verifiable, and that's something that we take great pride in. We make sure that whatever data we put in, we can always, if the model doesn't give right results, we can always go back and verify the data, the authenticity of the data, the correctness, the accuracy of the data independently without using any other tools. So that, I think, is important. So it just the fact that data is there, does not necessarily mean that you have to, you can go and just start using that data. So I think that's one area where I feel that we need to definitely make some progress.
The short answer to your question is yes. So we've dedicated, Glassstone's dedicated half of its fund to invest in security companies, and so strongly that our thesis are investing in companies that are solving all of the cybersecurity attacks when it comes to, now more than ever we get those scam calls and those scam texts. I don't know, like log into Chase, and then you click on those and it takes you to a page that look just like Chase's. As long as you put in your info, that's the point that the attackers come in and get your data. So solutions that protect folks, enterprises, us from that. Identity has been a huge theme, especially we've had machine identity, human identity, and now we have AIs and deep fakes coming in. So what kind of security measures, company solutions do we look for that protect us from that? A lot of enterprises use, and us too, use so many, you guys have companies, use so many vendors. What attack may come from one of your vendors that puts you in jeopardy? The solutions that protect companies like that. These are just a couple that off top of mind for us and companies that we've invested in. But as the space evolves, now especially with agents, we have agents that are solving security problems, like SOC automations or compliance automations. What about, then we'll have security to protect agents. So it goes hand in hand with all the tech advancements, I feel like.
So I have a very relevant French tech event, Paradox, that so I was privy to the questions prior to the event, so I was studying it. About 2 weeks ago, I was in Paris Disney. Anyone been to Paris Disney before? It's awesome. It's really cool. It's a lot different than Disney World if you've ever been there before. The one thing they don't do, and I was shocked, as an AI person, I'm walking around, I walked through the entrance of Paris Disney without any human checking me in. It was just like walking through a bus. There was no camera, there was no fingerprint scanning, there was no facial recognition. I checked all around me. There was not a single camera monitoring me entering that park. If you've all been in Disney World before, you get in a corner and all of a sudden there's a picture of you on your app because they facial recognized you and you were probably standing somewhere you shouldn't. And they're like, stop this person. There's a paradox now that I was presenting with my team as I was talking through them with this. We can have data security, and we need data security, and probably Disney World Florida goes way too far at privacy rights. But there's also this other part where if you don't have the data, what are you trying to protect? And in a world of AI where data is so important, how do you harness that data properly? But if you're not harnessing the data or capturing the data or controlling the data for your company or your brand, because of security, you're also making that mistake. And so there's a balance. You have to understand how do you collect it properly, and then how do you secure it properly so that your model is properly controlled. And as I was walking through Disney, I kept thinking, the Paris Disney does not know where I am, what I'm doing, and if AI is going to run Disney World Florida, they're already 10 years behind. And now they have to play catch up because of that decision for security or privacy. And it's good or bad. I'm not taking a side. I'm just letting you know that's something to think about.
That's fascinating. I want to hear more, but I also want to leave some time for the floor to ask questions. So I just want to do maybe a rapid fire style of what we all think about AGI, because that's another one that's kind of hot, like poly intelligence. AGI for today's purpose, we'll keep it as like human level intelligence. And also, if there's something your heart desires in terms of AI or makes you really excited, I'd also love to hear about that. So rapid fire style will, Cleda, start with you. Yeah.
What do I think about AGI?
Yep.
Far from it now.
And what are you excited about?
Oh,
AI.
in AI. Oh, so much. I mean, it changes from day to day. Today, it was just the application of computer vision and process assembly lines in manufacturing. What AI can do for legacy industries, construction as well. There's so much that workflows that we can automate, predictions that we can run to build great things.
I'll go straight to, sorry, the second question was on what are like most excited about. So in my field, there's a lot of predictive models that are mostly applied to patients that already have had cancer. But I think we can do a lot more in terms of prevention, early detection using data from wearables. And so I'm super excited about what's to come in more the early detection and prevention side of things.
Let's see. What I'll start off with is I'm excited about agentic AI. I think it depends on how we define agentic AI. I think one of the things that I'm intrigued with is a program by DARPA is called XAI. So the more that we can kind of have explainable AI is what that corresponds to, versus it's not the Elon Musk company, XAI. So I'm excited about that as it relates to agentic AI. I agree, the full stream, sort of like WALL-E-esque agentic AI, where you walk into a room and the room knows you. We're not there yet. And then what I would say, maybe what I'm excited but also worried about is data is the new gold. And what I mean by that is, for those that may have read or may have not read a book called Techno-Feudalism, thinking about our data is being monetized, whether we like it or not. And so how self-aware are we of all the cookies, of all the geotags, et cetera? Thinking about agentic AI from that standpoint is, in the future, right, who's going to own the data? Right, per consumer, for better or worse, right, as it relates to human, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry to leave it on there.
Google doesn't monetize our data. Disney doesn't monetize us. I didn't know that. I don't know what AGI is anymore. I don't know who's defining it. I don't know what direction we define it as. I mean, if you asked Turing back in the day, I'm sure he said we're there, but there is no, and every time Sam Altman gets on stage and says it, I'm just like, yeah, goalpost move. I think there's a lot of technology. Large language models is a computational, like a way to run computers that is different than ones and zeros that we are just diving into and figuring out how it works. It's not getting us closer. It's getting us closer, but it's not the only solution. It's not the one path to get us there. I think what we heard in our keynote speech is another way to think about how nature and physics and all of those things need to be applied to get to a future where it can think like us and act like us and replace what we do in our brain. So I don't have any AGI predictions. But technology I'm excited about. I really like MCPs. They're model context protocols. If you don't know, it's like how I dream the computer should work with other computers. And finally, we have this way to have like a natural language conversation where I don't need a developer. I don't need to explain every single call, and it just magically starts populating my Monday board or reconciling invoices. Once you use an MCP, it's like the most magical thing that's happened to me in the last 3 years. And I'm not saying that large language models are not cool. This is another level when you see it working on something that you've struggled with for years, like reconciling invoices, which we've all done, and you just provide natural language and have this MCP reconcile in perfect annotation. So I'm excited about MCPs, and I'll let you go next.
So I've read various predictions about AGI and people who are excited about AGI, and there have been predictions like, okay, maybe 50%, 40%, 60% of the workforce will get replaced by agents. So who companies will sell for various amount. I am a little skeptical of that. I think I have my view is from the inside, where we know how hard it is to develop an AI model that behaves correctly, how much data that goes into it, how much processing you have to do, how much fine tuning you have to do. So it is not magic, the AI model is not just on its own going to just start, solving complex problems. You have to train it, fine tune it, and there is so much work that goes on behind it. So there are all these predictions about AGI taking over. I think that I'm a little skeptical about that.
So will it work excited about in terms of AI?
Well, so I think there are various, I would say there is no one particular technology, but this confluence of these various technologies coming together, solving really complex design problems. I think that's something that we're really useful. We are very excited about. There is one exciting technology we released. If you have used this app, Make by Me or Home by Me, it's available. We released this functionality called Magic Furniture, where you just tell what kind of a furniture you want to design, and you can choose, like, I want a coffee table or a bookcase or a desk, and it will actually design the furniture for you one step at a time, and you can see that, and you can actually get it manufactured. So that kind of a technology where it is, you can directly see the impact on consumers. I think that's something that we are really excited about.
All right. Give a round of applause to this exceptional panelist. Yeah.